Hello, GenRight Nation. I'm Tony Pellegrino, and this is Tech Talk. Today I've got our very own Jeff Perkins joining me, and Tech Talk is something we do live every Wednesday on both Facebook and YouTube. So if you're joining us right now, thank you. I appreciate it. This is part of the fun for us to be able to interact. If you missed Tech Talk, you can always go back and watch it on YouTube under the live tab and watch either this one or other ones if you want to catch up. This is our 5th year of doing Tech Talk, so there's plenty of them out there for you to watch. And as usual, if you have a question or a comment, you just type it in, and Jennings will read those back to us. So we'd be happy to try and get to any build or Jeep related questions, as many as we can. It's hard to sometimes get to all of them. Featured product. Today, maybe Jennings, you can zoom in on this. This is a brand new sticker. Build it right the first time with GenRight. And the only way you get this sticker is either by buying a brand new product, it's going to come in the package with it, or you go to one of our Jeep nights nationwide and they're going to have them there to hand out. So kind of a cool new sticker we just came up with. So there you go. All right. That was our featured thing. Oh, actually, we wanted to talk about this, didn't we?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, sorry, I had two things. Our steering quick release. So for some of you, I got a lot of questions about this out at KOH, how to convert your standard steering wheel over to a quick release. And we make this cool spud that goes onto your existing steering column. So you got to remove all your stock stuff. This thing bolts on, and then you're able to put a wheel on and off. I don't know if you want to add something else about that.
No, it's super handy.
It's super easy,
Cleaner.
very handy.
You get actually a real Jeep race steering wheel in there instead of the factory stuff, where most of their stuff usually doesn't work on it anyway.
Right, and if you have cruise control or airbags or any of that, it's gone.
Yep.
So
how
don't
it
even
should
ask.
be if it's
How it should
off-road.
be. Yeah, yeah,
Do you remember I had one of the prototypes of this when I lived in Missouri?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got like the first one.
Got the first one of this and the fuel pump access panel.
There you go. That's right. Man, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was.
So, yeah, so those were our featured products. Okay, today we have some questions that people wrote in about. Jennings will read those. First, we're going to talk about kind of a recap of King of the Hammers. Jeff's going to, give us his blow by blow of how his day went. Yeah. And we're going to start, we'll show some of the different drivers and stuff. And when you go to King of the Hammers, it's not obvious, but there are many classes.
It's a 3-week-long event now?
Yeah, starting with King of the Motos.
King of the Motos.
Yeah.
Next weekend, Desert Challenge,
Desert,
which is
yeah.
super cool.
Yeah.
Then the following weekend, all the UTV, EMC, then Race of Kings.
Yeah, so I'm sorry we didn't clarify that more on the last show.
Yeah.
We kind of assume everybody knows this stuff and we gloss it over. Sorry about that. But what we're going to do now is we're actually going to talk about what they call the EMC or Everyman Challenge. And obviously, first of all, would be Peter and Jeff. So why don't you give us a little bit of a recap?
Recap. Well, the whole week was going great till EMC day. We got to the line. We tried to clear the motor because you're just sitting there for 45 minutes with it idling. So you always try to clear it out. Died. And then we had to deal with the guy next to us that he let us go flying off the jump, and he was a little quicker in the desert. So right when we got to open desert, we'd let him blow by.
Gotcha.
But the Jeep died. We're still trying to start it. And so he goes off the line. It's all right. We still beat him to the Bronco Arch.
Good.
Jumped over him, and that was fun. Where we did not come up short.
Good, yes.
We sent it. And then, we were having a pretty consistent first lap. Probably driving the car like 80% because that was the main goal.
That's good.
Be quick in the desert, but we want to get through the rocks with the car 100%.
Yep.
We thought we were doing that, and then we blew our pinion bearing like three quarters of the way through lap one, And it was just kind of fluky. The pinion seal started leaking, seeping and leaking just a little bit, but not enough to where it was like dripping. So we got out, we checked that. I forgot what race mile, I think like 50 something. Got out, checked that, which stunk because it was right when we were getting in, that fast section out on the way to Outer Limits. We taken the Real Hammers experience. I'm like, oh man, I know I know this section well. We are gone. But we had to kind of, and then the noise kind of went away to the back side of Emerson Ridge. Then we were only in front wheel drive. So luckily we're on the back side of that big climb. Otherwise, I don't think we would have made it back
not
to remote pit.
Drive,
I keep on wanting to call it pit 2.
I know, me too. Yeah.
This year there was only one remote pit, so that's remote pit. But in other years there's been 2, and that's been pit 2.
Yeah.
So we were able to limp it back in front wheel drive to remote pit, and that's where we diagnosed that the rear end gear set and everything was gone. We were kind of stumped for about 5 minutes, and then we decided to bring my Jeep around. That was at Maine, like the infield where everybody takes off, and start swapping axle parts. Put my gear set in the race car. Then we learned the race car was 35 spline, my Jeep's 40, so we started disassembling the locker, converting it to 40 spline, or 35 spline.
That was a big project.
It was a big project.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on. We had a good time. So, I mean, for being in a race, like, what can you do? You're no longer going for the win.
We're just like trying to come up with the solution.
But
how do you convert the splines like out in the dirt?
We had to change the lockers out, but the problem was that the old locker probably still had some stuff in it.
Yeah, the old locker probably still had some metal shavings in it. It's impossible to get all that. Even if you're not on a lake bed, it's impossible to get all that out.
I mean, we're doing this in the dust and sand,
Yep.
So.
But so that took about 3.5 hours, which shout out to the whole team doing it, keeping us going in the race. We knew it wasn't like a long-term fix, but we were hoping to at least get to the finish line. I think we left remote pit, and we had like 18 minutes to get across start finish before time cut off, so we were ripping very good, and we made time. Went out on lap 2. We were doing great. We went by remote pit again, went through aftershock, went by remote pit. Everything looked fine. We just gassed up, right?
Yeah.
Then we got through Laser Nut Alley and got to the climb right after it, and that's when it went again. So.
And it went.
It went.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, after we got into like the heart of the desert on lap 2, it started talking to us a little bit, but that was kind of.
Yeah.
Jamie Taylor told us that it was going to.
Yeah.
But we were hoping for like, I don't know, 50 more miles or so. We could have just held to the finish line. But
I was glad you guys got down out of the rocks and onto the sand. Like if you had been stuck up in there anywhere, that would have been ugly.
To be honest, both times we broke, we were in a pretty good spot. Right there, right in the backside of idle issues. So like we couldn't have been a better spot to blow a ring and pinion. So
you're as close to camp as you get.
We had that going for us.
Yeah.
But
and fortunately, like I was right there, a bunch of us, right? So that worked out pretty good.
But everything was. I mean,
so how many miles do you think you were in?
We did.
Like 100?
No, 139, I think.
Okay.
142, one of those. I had it because I have the GPX tracks in my lead nav.
Yeah, you were really far
But Peter was driving great. He was doing great in the desert and the rocks, and it just.
What's weird is we've never had a ring and pinion go in the race.
No.
It's so bizarre.
Not on that axle.
Yeah.
It just had to be maybe something wasn't torqued right.
Or just not right, period. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Jerry's asking,
we're not too worried about it.
Did you think about swapping the whole axle instead of just the inside parts?
The one in that car is like unique.
It's unique, but we would have, but our suspensions are set up different. This car is a double triangulated rear, has a axle mount for the coilover and the bypass.
That's right. And the bridge is a little different.
Bridge is a little different. So it's set up for racing and kind of a whole different rear suspension. Now, should I make my Jeep double triangulated for future instances? Probably, and then I mean we could just run if that ever happened again, we could just run a coilover
Right.
and finish.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Well, and you guys thought you had a whole separate carrier and ring gear and everything, but it turned out to be for the front.
yeah,
So-
we still need to go through those parts. Still.
Yeah.
But I don't think we had an extra locker anyway. So.
Yeah.
Off-road overland camping asked, are you allowed to have spare axles on hand to swap out in case something breaks?
Yeah, absolutely. But most of the time, it's easier just to limp, depending where you're at, limp back to the pit and do it.
Yeah. Well, obviously, you can't do that out in the field.
No.
We're not just talking about a shaft. We're talking about a whole housing.
Yeah.
That's a big job. You need like an engine hoist.
Yeah, and even though these look like a Jeep, it is a race car. Like, room is very limited.
Yeah.
Like, we have a hard time figuring out where to put the tools we actually carry.
Yeah.
Really, that spare tire, there's a spare tire bag in the middle of the wheel, and that's, besides a
Where all the
few
tools
tools
go.
in my tool bag, just for like doing something quick like changing the belt, all the
Yeah.
tools have to fit in there.
Yeah.
So you're kind of limited. Of course, we have hidden parts on there, like brake lines and a
Tie
tie
rod,
rod on
yeah,
there.
yeah.
But
Drive
besides,
shafts, right?
yeah, two front and rear drive shafts and
Yeah.
those tools. But besides that, weight's everything, really.
Everything. And you're focused on the parts that will just get you back to a pit, right?
Correct.
Like, just
Yeah.
get us out of this
Yeah.
mess. Yeah.
Even brake lines, like we have shut-off valves for the front and rear. So even when those go, we're probably just closing it and getting back to
keep
pit when the
going.
guys.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
He also asked, when is Jeff going to start racing?
maybe next year. Peter's interested in building a new car or something, so, or a 48 car or 44. So we'll see how that works out. But I have a pretty dang good time in that passenger seat with him. So
Nice. And you drive this?
yeah.
Okay,
but
cool.
It would be tough to separate from him. So we'll see
Yeah.
what happens.
Okay.
Everybody's saying the in-car was great to watch and listen to this year.
I bet it got a little spicy at times, but
That's what someone said.
I sent that to my family. I'm like, here's the in-car footage. I probably wouldn't let my nieces listen to this before the race. So,
Anthony Paquette asked, I wonder how Jeff got Banshee back and if the rear carrier has been fixed.
Banshee,
Or
I
drove
still
back
had
on
front-wheel drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I got it in my trailer, which, is two times walking speed in my trailer. I might need a little tow out, but we're going to send the whole axle back to Curry, have them rebuild it and everything, so
Yeah.
that'd be good. But I need to wait till it quits raining.
Yeah, that way they set all the bearing preload and everything, and
Set
we
everything
know it's good.
Exactly perfect
Yeah.
how it should be.
Yeah.
so.
Several comments saying this year's EMC was more entertaining than the main race.
Oh, good. We certainly kept us busier. We had a good time, though. Even though we didn't finish, we had a few things happen. Me and Peter were laughing the whole time till the end. It was a great time.
And
this
your
year.
class, only 4,500
I don't know. I think maybe 5.
It was low, though, right?
It's always low for
Yeah.
45.
Man,
Yeah.
what were we going to say?
Josh asked, do you carry lighter parts such as thinner wall drive shafts to save good amount of weight?
No. To be honest, drive shafts are down low. We're fine with that weight. We want them as beefy as possible, as clearance can fit. I think the front's a little thinner, but it's chromoly, so but just for clearance issues. But
Peter just hopped on.
All right.
Peter.
Nice.
We're talking about you, Peter. Glenn asked, he said, I was at KOH. I loved watching you guys race. Any idea how the bump stops failed?
Oh, that was on.
That was on Blake's.
Yeah. So Blake's, maybe if we get to that picture, hang on one sec, okay? So next is Albert Contreras from Jeep Thrills.
Mm-hmm.
He did not finish. He also broke. He had a whole bunch of trials, and I guess he dumped it over on its side at one point.
And then he had some electrical issues.
Yeah,
after
yeah.
that.
So he was
a
really
bummer.
struggling out there. That's too bad.
There were some parts in that course. The course was awesome this year. Disappointed we didn't get to see a lot of the rocks, but it was a super cool course.
Yeah.
KOH did a great job with that.
Making it tougher.
But there were some parts where I'm like, how is a stock class race car
Gonna
getting
get
up
through.
this?
I know.
Peter
Without
says hi
this
from
winch.
Chicago.
All
Oh,
right.
he's still
nice.
in Chicago. I thought he'd be in Australia by
Nice.
now.
We didn't say who else is watching. Do you want to?
Well, we still got a lot to cover, so let's keep going.
Okay.
Okay. Then we get to the
that's
Race of
snubbed.
Kings, which is the 4,400 class. And of course, this is Jordan's old car that Cameron Steele drove, re-outfitted with all the monster stuff. And he ended up breaking. He was going good, but then ended up breaking.
He was flying in the desert lap, right?
Yeah. So he started 40-something, and I guess he had passed 40 cars.
Yeah.
So he was working his way up.
Him
but-
and Shear were on a first lap mission.
Yeah. So, but a part broke on that we've never broken before either. It was like the Bermuda Triangle out there, guys, of new stuff.
That's just what KOH does, though. I think everybody, half the guys that didn't finish is like, never
Yeah.
even thought that was a
that was-
possibility.
Yes,
so.
yes. Next. Okay, Blake. So, right here, he's got one of those trusses, and you can see his air bumps right here, but they hit on an angle. And, if you're just trail wheeling and stuff, it's fine. But when you're pounding through the whoop-de-doos, it ended up pushing it out and let the rear end travel, the front end travel up into the pulley on the motor.
Yeah, if you're just rock crawling and setting them up for articulation, then
It's fine.
whatever. But if you're racing,
Yeah.
you want that dead on.
Yeah,
as
it bent
quick
the
as
can.
possible.
And the first clue was it pitched the belt off. And we were like, oh, it was probably just a bad belt. Well, the next time, it was a complete mess. So, and Blake told me the course was rough. So,
See, I thought the desert
good.
loop was so much smoother than the previous. I mean,
yeah.
it was. We thought it was fast.
Yeah. So Blake made it 121 miles, which is fantastic.
That's very good.
I'm really proud of him for that being, his first real go at it. So I think that's great. All right. And then we had, Josh and his co-driver Cameron Harris, GenRight Cameron, they made it all the way to the third lap. These guys did really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they were just out there to finish, and they went really far. Now, they could have kept going, but they would have timed out. There is a time limit,
Yeah.
and they were just going on the hardest section.
Yeah, especially in a full-body Jeep. I don't know if I'd want to tackle. For those that don't know, lap 3 for the Race of Kings, they didn't even give them the lap 3 GPX file until the Friday before at noon.
Yes.
To ensure nobody could pre-run it.
Yes.
Nobody could really get eyes on the rock trails, and most of these had never been ran.
Yeah.
So going out in the pitch black and doing that.
Yeah, and
Like-
they had Full of Hate and
Full hate's
what
rough.
was the other one? Dead Blow or
Upper Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary. They said those two trails, to get a full-bodied rig through would be almost impossible.
Ah, man.
So-
Eric Miller's the man. He left out in lap 3 and pitch black and
Yeah.
came around and for the finish.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
That's pretty cool. So these guys, I'm super proud of them. They did great. This is basically identical to Terremoto, so that's pretty cool.
Well, actually,
to see
remember
that.
when Terremoto raced and finished King of the Hammers?
Oh, that inspired Tommy.
That's what inspired
Yeah,
Tommy to
yeah.
build this race Jeep, and he himself raced this, tried 2 years in King of the Hammers with this Jeep. Then he bought a Triton Engineering
which I think we have
full-blown
next.
race car, and
Yeah.
still had this. So
There we go.
that's it.
That's what he's got now. So yeah, this is a whole nother machine. He's still kind of working the bugs out, I guess. Would they have a transfer case overheat or lose a seal or something?
I didn't hear
So,
what happened. But
yeah.
that seemed to be the name of the game in Race of Kings. I heard a
Yeah.
lot of transfer cases getting hot.
So I'm really proud of all of our guys out there. Everybody did a good job, or at least the best they could. The attrition was
Yep.
tremendous, of course.
It was. And this year, just proud of the crew. Nobody quit. Nobody was like, no, we're not doing all that work right
Yeah,
now. So
no,
they got us
everybody-
back out there.
Everybody
So.
dug in, so that was good.
Bo Fisher says, can you talk about the cost differences between the GenRight race car and the Can-Am UTVs? Everyone keeps thinking that is a basically stock UTV in the 4400 class. We all know it was far from it.
That's
Okay.
that's a race car. Not much stock
so
about that.
so they were very clever about how they did that. They took the front plastic clip off and it's literally bolted back onto this full on. So first off, A Can-Am cannot race, a regular UTV cannot race in the 4400. It doesn't have the right safety features. The tubing isn't big enough. There's a bunch of things about it, okay? Now that one in particular was built in a race shop from the ground up. They even used the transmission out of a 4-door Can-Am, so that wasn't even the engine and transmission out of a 2-door. It had everything on the suspension, even though they painted it the same color as a regular Can-Am. There was nothing stock on that.
Talking about Kyle Cheney's.
Kyle Cheney.
Most of it was billet.
Billet, and by the way, you couldn't see it very easily, but there were gnarly bypass shock on the back in addition to the coilover. So, which has never been done on a UTV. So, no, that thing was 100% one-off, live valve, like all the best stuff. Beyond money could buy. So, and I heard they had 130,000 in the chassis alone, plus the donor vehicle.
And I think just if you're thinking you're going to buy a Can-Am, I don't even know if you can buy half those parts.
Right. They were like one-offs.
They're made by.
Okay, so I did want to mention. The other guy, Cody Miller, that his front end broke off, those two cars were supposedly identical.
They were.
So the whole time, I'm watching the other car because I'm waiting for the other front end to break off. So maybe Cody hit something a little harder, out there in the race course.
They were both pushing hard.
They were both pushing hard. So, I don't know. Kyle has some incredible luck.
Yeah. I mean, they're both good drivers, too, but they were pushing very hard.
Yeah.
Evan Osborne asked, did Blake have motor issues? I saw a photo of him with a piston in his hand.
Oh, that was early on.
So. Pretty much when I got there. He got there a day early. He went and ran out to pit 2 and back, and then his motor started messing up. We figured out that his piston, I think 7, went. So we swapped that out there. Luckily, Brian Maxwell was able to bring the parts, help him out. But
Yeah, so basically the lands that hold the rings in place broke off. And good thing they were able to fix it. So
yeah.
But
during the race, he really didn't. The only engine issue he had was the belt caused by the bump stop splitting and suspension getting too high.
Yeah.
Overland Traveler asked, what is the future for GenRight and KOH? Are you going to build another car?
Too early to tell. There's a lot of talk about that. Jokingly, I'll share with you that Jamie Jordan and I have talked about building identical cars for just the 3 of us to go out and race together. Whether those would be Jeeps or whatever, I have no idea.
I heard you talking Can-Am.
Well, once we saw what those guys could do, we were like,
they're just so nimble through the trail.
They are, man. That weight makes a big difference. If you watch the live, you could see the Can-Ams like go up on the side of like a shaly hill, and the rest of the 4400s could not get up there.
Now, I don't think they'll win every year.
No.
But, I mean, it's impressive they stayed together. But I don't.
He played it smart. He let the 2 guys in front of him charge out, Paul Wolf and Lauren. I knew those 2 guys were going to wipe each other out, which they did.
I was hoping they wouldn't, but I'd love to see Paul do good. But they were
overdrove. Yeah.
And this is the year where that lap 3, it almost wasn't even like the guy with the perfect day.
That's right.
Like he put attrition back into the race.
Yes, big
time.
So
that was pretty cool.
Because Josh Blyler was doing good until he pushed too hard on lap 3 and broke.
Yeah.
So he was right there.
He got in quite the spot.
Bad spot. But we were both talking about how we would have had that co-driver out and winching right away.
Yeah.
For him to romp on that.
Or even the co-driver out before that, because this is an unexplored trail kind of.
Yeah.
So
Lauren said he was going to have his co-driver run.
That's what I would have done. I would have just ran and been like, no, that's no good.
Yeah.
Josh Heeger says he should sponsor me and Cameron.
Yeah, those guys did good. They did really good. I'm proud of you guys for sure. Yeah. I didn't even get to see him after the race, so yeah, good job, buddy. Good job.
KS Durham says it was great hanging out with your brother Tim on Wednesday. Awesome day with JJ USA.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice. Yeah, I saw him for a brief second out there. So
I didn't even see Tim out there.
So.
Steve Egbert asked, was the Can-Am race car the same size as the stock one?
No, it's a little bigger, a little beefier. It's got bigger tubing, longer wheelbase. And those engines were tuned way up. I don't know what the stock horsepower is, but those things were like 400 horse.
They ripped.
They were
They're
ripping.
Pretty impressive
Yeah.
machine.
Yeah. So
Bo
now,
Fisher.
keep in mind, I don't know how long they'll last. You know, when you push an engine like that, they're usually good for like 80
Oh, I bet
hours.
he's ripping it out after
Yeah.
the race.
Yeah.
Bo Fisher says it was interesting to see motors with boost in this year's race. Way more common this year.
Yeah,
I didn't see many.
Yeah, it usually doesn't work. That's one of those things that the whether it's a supercharger or a turbo, they can't take the beating out there, and they just end up coming apart. So
Cameron says Jeff. Addie says hi.
Hi, Addie.
Little ladies man.
nice. Nice.
Let's see. And Ted Miranda just said BNG Garage checking in. Really cool to meet you and talk to you guys.
Nice. Nice.
Peter says that he said he hit the same rock on both laps. Maybe Cody Young.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Is that what he said?
No, Kyle Chaney popped the same tire, hit the same rock on both times.
Okay.
So everybody had something
And their
happen during
thing,
that
yeah.
day. So
Yeah, I mean, out in pit 2, man, I saw a ton of carnage
Yeah.
coming in. You know, cars with no, one side of the front end, cars with broken, trailing arms, and just wild stuff I've never seen before. So, yeah, it was busy out there, for sure.
All caught up for now.
Okay.
it was interesting to me how late the race went. Like most
Yes.
of the time, the winner's back by like 2.
Yeah.
What time was it? Like
Yeah,
4?
not this time. Yeah.
No, there was.
Yeah, it took
Yeah.
longer.
And they look wiped.
They were wiped. Yeah.
But,
That was good.
it was
That
cool.
good.
It was a good race this
Yeah.
year.
It really was. It really was.
But that's racing for it. You just get bad luck out there sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything has to go your way.
Yeah.
Everything. So.
Addie is blushing now. And Red also says hi.
Yeah, in fact, speaking of everything going your way, a couple days before, Kyle Chaney raced in the UTVs and didn't even finish.
No.
So that just goes to show you, one day your car will stay together and the next it won't. So,
Just never know.
yeah.
Dave Holland says thanks to GenRight and team for all their support for Blake.
Yeah,
Always
you're welcome.
Dave.
You're welcome. I was out there in pit 2 inspecting his car myself, and
Nice.
trying to help diagnose stuff, So, yeah, it was good to see Blake come through. I was super happy to see how well they were doing.
Yeah.
Dr. Laura says hi, kiddos.
Oh, nice.
Hey, Laura.
Nice.
Ron asks what happened to the laser nut car.
So it
He-
turns out
He
that
ended up finishing.
he did, yeah. So I saw him drag in. I thought for sure he had hit something. Dan Fresh is a good driver. He's a seasoned KOH driver, and turns out the bolt just vibrated loose and the suspension fell off. So again, if something can happen, it will.
will.
So they were able to. The pit crew was really well staffed. They were able to get it back together, and he ended up finishing the race.
Yeah,
So
super cool.
That's pretty impressive. Sometimes when something comes apart like that, it just trashes everything, especially with the CV.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah.
man, how that didn't just
Especially
kill
in an
itself.
independent front.
Yeah.
How we got it back.
If-
I'd like to see the game tape on that.
yeah. When he came into the pit, I was like,
Did he have
"Oh,
like
everyone
ratchet
wanna look."
straps on it and
No,
stuff?
no, just drove it, digging into the dirt. I was like, man, that's crazy.
Mark Lawrence says Tony did a great job in the announcer booth.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you did.
Thanks. Yeah, that was unexpected. I was just walking by and they pulled me out of the crowd. So I enjoy that stuff, and certainly I've got 10 plus years of experience out there racing myself. So
Jeremy Crumbly asked, are you going to have spare axles next race?
We had 3 sets of spare axles.
I think they're talking the whole shooting match.
No, we won't get a whole new axle assembled, but we'll probably have a spare.
It's so unusual.
It is, but
It's so
we will probably have a spare ring pinion with
yeah,
locker.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Not in the Jeep,
No, like in the pit.
in the trailer.
So, but what you guys don't know is they typically keep the parts in one location or the location they most likely think they're going to need it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have guys like me or other team guys that can run the parts back and
Or
forth.
full Jeep.
In a full Jeep, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jordan drove your Jeep out, right?
Jordan. Yeah, he
Yeah.
did. Renee said he drove faster than I've ever driven with her. So. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Jordan even drove his 392 faster than I've seen him drive anything. He was hauling that thing.
He's a race car driver.
Yeah.
Well, he started the week by ripping around his old race car. So
Yes.
I'm sure it's
That
hard
guy's
to
juice
tone
is
it
flowing.
down a little bit from there.
Yeah. So.
Matt McDonough asked, "How was the party at Backdoor and Chocolate Thunder? It looked like it got pretty rowdy."
It was.
Did you go over there?
No, I never went out there because
I,
it just looked like an accident
We went
waiting
to
to happen.
Chocolate Thunder for a little bit.
I didn't go to
early.
Backdoor. I didn't see too many lights at Backdoor, but Chocolate Thunder I went for about an hour one evening, ran through it once. It was... Alan is the mayor of Chocolate Thunder.
Yes.
He just runs stuff. He tries other ones. He gets people out of his way, but it got a little too wild for me. People were throwing fireworks on the trail at Jeeps, like not even ones that went up, ones that just would explode under the Jeeps. There started to be fights everywhere. It's,
just too many drunk people.
Too much going on for me.
Testosterone, yeah. It's unfortunately, that's vacation for a lot of people, and they just don't know how to keep it within check, and they get out of control out there. So,
yep.
I mean, we've seen people backing into each other and driving over, motorcycles and stuff, and.
I will say there were officers on that main stretch waiting for all those people to leave. So.
You bet. Yeah.
Rich Shedlousey said, "I'm in Parker, Arizona, wheeling with my friends in FMCA. Next week, I'll be in Lake Havasu City.
Nice.
The GenRight Jeep is rocking."
Good. Glad to hear that, Rich.
Yeah, glad to hear it. Awesome.
Ari says, "I missed the first half hour. Did you cover how Tommy Dykstra did?"
We did. He actually was doing pretty good. He had a problem with this transfer case. It started to overheat, and I guess a seal came out, and then he lost the fluid. They were able to get him out of pit 2 and keep him going, but I didn't find out about how far he made it after that. I just heard that he had retired early before it was dark. So, but his Jeep, that Josh was driving, kept going.
His Jeep made it further.
So.
Laura Coda asked, "Did you ever figure out why Peter's brakes stopped working for a bit?"
No, sure didn't.
Just for fun. Hey, Tommy says, "Hey guys."
Hey, can he tell us how far he made it?
Yeah, how far did you make it, Tommy?
Yeah.
We were just talking about you.
So.
You did great.
I know Cameron lost his brakes too in Lamborghini.
He did?
Yeah, just, like fluky stuff. Jordan did something, brakes came back, he took off.
It was cool on the live that they did keep calling it Lamborghini.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. And I wanted to get over to where they were doing the commentating, but we were so busy that day running around. It was just too much, for sure.
Jerome says KOH just posted a pic. Everything's already cleaned up and put back to normal in Johnson Valley.
Wow.
Well, today was the last day. It's military training in Johnson Valley for the next week or two.
Starts tomorrow. Yeah. So.
VB Tom asked, "How hard or easy is it to move around the race course while the course is hot for spectators to get from one obstacle to another?"
Well, this year they set up quite a few spectator zones. You do need four-wheel drive. I'll warn you that you go through some sandy sections that if you don't have that, you're stuck. But they were able to get over to Chocolate Thunder, Idle Issues, Her Problems, Laser Nut Alley, that whole section. And then what was the obstacle even beyond that around the corner toward Jack? But they were basically able to drive that whole thing all the way over to Jackhammer, and then a lot of people walked up Jackhammer quite a ways.
Which they made it easier picking Jack or Sledge, not looping around, so you could actually get
through there. Yeah. In addition to that, you still had the backdoor area. You had the main, short course area.
Yeah. Did anybody take backdoor?
Not that I saw. Even on the live, I didn't see it. And then there were some desert sections that you could get out to, like way out in the fast sections. And then if you are part of a team and you have a pit pass, then you can go even more places. I went out on your race, which is part of the reason I didn't know when Jimmy said you guys came up short. He was talking about the guy behind you. Because he said, okay, you guys just took off, and then he's like, oh, came up short, and I was like, what?
We were the last people that got to go off the gap jump. The guy behind us yard sailed
right,
and then
they closed it.
Then they closed it for the big guys.
Yeah, I know.
So you make the UTVs, the EMC guys, gap jump, and then the biggest and baddest in the business.
They closed
nice
it
little
off.
tabletop.
Tommy says
I went way out to spot you guys, and that's also a great place for spectators to go if they want to, because you
Where
can
were
see
you?
Bessemer Mine Road.
Oh, okay.
So where we used to have a pit out there, you guys come through and then you turn and go out, but you can see the cars coming, going,
yeah.
and even on the return back.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool desert race.
Yeah, I didn't
out
see
there.
you out there, but
Yeah. No, I was up on the rocks.
it was weird flying through that and just seeing like hardly anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, wow, this would be a great spot for a pit because it usually is.
Usually is.
Tommy says we made it 30 miles into lap 2 and the gasket maker failed again. The first stuff was on case for 3 weeks before I put fluid in it and it never dried. I didn't use the right stuff. O'Reilly's was out, so I used another one from Permatex.
Oh, yeah. Jeez, that's a rough lesson right
The
there.
gasket maker never cured.
So what the first lap was 60 something miles,
Yeah.
and then he made it 36
Maybe
into the next one.
70 something, but yeah.
So I did want to clarify. You know, the first lap is like a desert loop. The second lap you go into the rocks, and the third lap, if you're in the 4400, that is they just dished out the most brutal stuff. Because I had some people ask, was it just the same lap over and over? Like, no.
No.
It's much different. So
The only downside to that lap 3 was 90% of the people that went through it, there was no coverage on because it was pitch black.
I know.
So they almost, if they're going to do that, they almost have to start earlier or just make that lap 2.
yeah, the guys that got coverage were the ones that had the in-car camera because you could see with their
Yeah.
headlights. So that was cool. I appreciated that at least.
It was cool. Yeah, but I think like the last half hour footage was in car with AK because
Yeah.
he had it, but he was just finishing lap 2,
Right.
which was awesome that he was able to keep going and get that far.
Yeah,
but-
because he donated some of his parts to get getting going.
Well, he did toss it going up Bessemer Ridge. And then
That was such a bad spot.
it was, but it was cool seeing the Campbells blast
Yeah.
around him. There were people like behind him, like, oh no, what we do? Here comes the Campbell trio, and they just make their own path.
Yeah.
That was that was
when
pretty
you're in
cool.
4400, man, you don't wait for anything.
No.
Like somebody's stuck, you get around them. So yeah, that's part of the fun.
Tommy says also that was the first time that Josh Heger drove my Jeep.
I know, unbelievable.
Second time I made him drive 2 days before I let Cam get in with him.
They did really good.
And Jeep Pope says that Robbie Gordon took backdoor.
Oh, he did.
That sounds about right.
That does sound about right.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's
It's funny,
Matt
I didn't realize
McDonough.
Robbie Gordon's car was a 2-seat. The whole time I thought he was driving a single seat.
But did he drive or did Max drive?
Max drove the first like 1 3/4, and then Robbie jumped in.
Oh, okay.
So in pit 2 someplace.
Matt McDonough asked, besides the cost of the race car, what does this weekend cost? Fuel, camping, fees? I don't think people understand what this would cost to get into.
A lot.
A lot.
Whatever you're thinking.
It's
Quadruple that.
it depends on a lot of the time the team people are volunteers. So as a driver, I know for me and Peter is the same. You try and make sure you have food for those guys and accommodations. If they don't have RVs, somewhere to stay.
Yeah.
In addition to pit passes and armbands and just entry into the thing. So food alone can be a pretty significant chunk of change for
Yeah.
10 days.
But also, you think you build a race car. Okay, go out and buy 12 more whole wheels and tires.
Yep.
Buy 2 more of every part you put in there.
Yep. And then drums of fuel and gas cans for it to go in, because you got to have parts and tools to go out to the pits, right?
Yeah,
That's a
Talking
lot.
like hundreds of thousands
Then
of dollars.
then you've got entry fees and USAC and all the different stuff associated with that, including all your safety gear, right?
And then
Peter
you're-
says this is a bucket list item, so cost is fungible. Fungible.
I know that for us, we were running 4,400. It was $100,000 to get to the starting line, so it was very expensive.
And then the money doesn't stop after the race.
No, that's right. Now the car's beat
You're
down.
respinning everything.
Everything,
You're sending
yes.
every part out to
Yes.
get gone through, the
Yeah.
engine, the axles,
Yeah.
transfer
All
case, you
labor.
name it.
Yeah.
Troy Merritt asked, did Banshee get put back together?
Not yet. We're waiting for the rain to stop so I can rip my rear axle out, and we got to send that and the one other race car to
Yeah.
carry.
Yeah, you guys should understand, we've been gone for a couple weeks, and stuff is just piling up on our desk. So we got back Monday, and we were just on it. And I'm still not even quite caught up today.
No, me either. And it was
So.
It's tough to roll out of bed at 7 and be like, let's go. But
So.
you got to.
Yeah, we got a lot of people counting on us, so we got to make it happen. Yeah.
Those are done right now. I have
Okay.
these.
Yeah. Okay. So we had 3 people write in Tech Talk questions, so I was going to have Jennings read those off, and Jeff and I together can try and answer these things.
Okay, first one's from Lucas. He's got a 2017 two-door JK Rubicon with 3-inch lift on 35s wrapped in GenRight armor, inner fenders, and fender deletes. His question is, I would like to take my Jeep to your location for a lift and engine swap, and wondering what kind of engine you'd recommend with the GenRight Extreme Lift on 40s. Even though crawling is my passion, going fast and whoops are fun too, and I definitely want to be able to spin the tires on pavement, but wondering about the squirreliness of the two-door and a big engine. Honestly, I personally would like to have a manual valve body transmission and want to also get rid of as much of the junky JK crap as possible, including the AC and traction control,
This guy's
etc.
really speaking our language.
He's going in the right direction.
Side question, does it cost more to get rid of the junky JK crap or leave it on if I want to keep oil temperature at 180 degrees or less?
No. Okay, so the stock JK stuff has nothing to do with that. The first off, I was going to recommend a 5.3 out of a truck.
Yeah.
Right? He'll get good torque. It'll be affordable. It won't be too much power, right?
No.
That you'll get crazy, and you can always add a cam and fix it
You
up a little
can.
bit if
Like
you.
my new 5.3 is quite a bit peppier than
Yeah.
my old 5.3, and my old 5.3 was fine.
Yeah. So, and you've got a manual valve body transmission. Now, here's one of the things that I don't think a lot of people know. When I first started racing KOH, we always ran a built turbo 350. A turbo 350 saves 40 horsepower. Okay, so but the moment you cross 500 horsepower, you're going to break the turbo 350. So you need to, this is all kind of a balance, right? And I know you upgraded the turbo 400.
For me, I'm fine sacrificing that,
The
not to
40
worry,
extra horsepower.
not worry about the
Yeah,
journey.
yeah, exactly. Because then it's bulletproof.
Well, especially because you're getting the reverse manual valve body for one of the best features in it. When you're oh crap moment, you even with the 400, you only get so many of slamming it
Yes.
from first to reverse.
Yeah.
And I think that just that having the extra strength of the 400
Yeah.
eases my mind a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. Yeah, all the parts within the transmission are going one way, and they have to instantaneously stop and go the other way. And that's pretty rough on
Because I never
things.
want to be like this and be like, man, what's cheaper? Rebuilding my tranny or what damage
Or
this
rolling
is going to
over.
cause?
Yeah,
So.
yeah, for sure. So, hopefully those are some good tips. Certainly eliminating as much of the electronics as you can. I would go with, a Holley or,
Yeah.
some kind of an ECU like that to run the engine. And then, of course, the transmission doesn't need one.
Yeah. And the cooling thing, we would, like we did in our Jeeps, we'd rip every wiring factory out, every factory cooler, and then you can put your own transmission cooler and oil cooler.
Yeah.
So keeping the stock stuff for the temps, once you go to like an LS, you just need to get rid of
Just
all
get
that.
rid of it. Yeah, for sure. I was going to mention something in addition to that. What happens is most people, that want to do a Bruiser conversion or a Dakota Customs or any one of these guys, those guys are all focused on around making everything in the Jeep seem like it's factory. That means that there's another computer talking to the factory computer to make the heater work, to make the wipers work, to make the gauges on the dash. Once you're going to the level you're talking about, man, you just ditch all that stuff, and the Holley can have its own dash and give you
Yeah.
all the information you need.
100%.
Yeah,
Okay, next one.
sure.
All right, Mike Denani says he's got a 89 Jeep YJ. It has a 5.3 LS in it, 4L60E trans motor, and trans are stock right now. Yeah, okay, got that. I have 12-inch travel king coilovers with reservoir in the rear and 10-inch travel rock crawler emulsion coilovers in the front. The rock crawler emulsion coilovers I have don't have nor will the secondary nuts work on them. How do I set them up for the springs to work well for slow speeds?
Yeah, he needs to replace those shocks.
Yeah.
Just find a friend to sell those to and get yourself some with some secondary nuts. You'll be a lot happier, and we'd be able to help you set those up a little bit better. It's funny that he's got a lot of the same setup we were just talking about. For those of you that aren't familiar with the transmissions, the 4L80 and the 400 Turbo 400 are the same. One's a 3-speed, one's a 4-speed. The Turbo 350 and the 4L60 are the same, but the 4-speed and a 3-speed. So just to give you an idea, I know there's a lot of numbers being thrown around, but they're the two platforms, one with an overdrive and without.
But if you go back and watch our Tech Talk on that last swap series, we go into that in way more detail.
Way more detail, yeah.
Okay. Mark
there one
Lawrence asked, was Terremoto on the lake bed or did you leave it home?
I left it home, so before I left, it was raining and snowing and nasty out there. So I totally regret it. It was like the nicest weather there's ever been at a KOH, and not that Aftershocks a slouch. I mean, I was still ripping around. In fact, Jordan and I raced across the lake bed, and he only beat me by a little bit. So
really?
I was feeling pretty good about that.
Well, maybe it's good because you would have been closer in Terremoto than Banshee was with my Jeep. You might be waiting for a rear end now.
I offered to take the gears out of Aftershock, knowing that I could drive around in front-wheel drive, but Banshee was a better donor at that point.
It was. Well, and you had the Auburn,
right,
and I have a Detroit that matches
so
the race car.
So it was a lot closer,
Okay, the last question is from Robert Brower. He's got a Jeep TJ 5.9 Magnum NV 4500 with 8.8 rear, 44 front, 513 gearings on 35s. Question is coil springs and shocks versus coilover, advantages and disadvantages.
Only disadvantage price?
Yeah, and honestly, when I see people buying shocks that are like the equivalent of what's inside a coilover, I feel bad for them because they've spent, they're so close to spending all the money, and then they just got a regular shock.
Yeah, I mean, the only advantage is the cost and not having to totally redo your suspension, but it's better. It's so much better.
Yeah, because now we always talk about it in terms of packaging, but let me break that down. What happens is you have fewer components, right? You don't have a coil spring, which by the way is big in diameter, right, on the axle. You're getting rid of all that. So with everything out of the way, you can run a longer track bar. You've got more room for your steering and other things. It's just a much cleaner way to do it. And the shocks are superior in quality. And then you get a dual rate spring because you can adjust that secondary nut that the last guy was talking about. And the performance is just outstanding, beside the fact that it's totally adjustable.
Yeah, and you touched the main reason. You can actually get your drag link track bar the same length and improve your overall handling.
Yeah, and that reduces bump steer. So we've talked about that in great detail in the past, but when you're going through the bumps, you're not having to chase it. You can just steer straight and the vehicle's going to go straight. So a lot of advantages, even to lengthening those things because the longer they are, the less change they see. So you don't feel the vehicle being really squirrely. It's a lot more stable. So, yeah.
Okay. Logan G says, I just got my TJ to LJ frame welded up on my YJ. Now I need to order some coilovers.
There you go.
Nice. Give us a call.
They got them in stock. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is my next event, not this coming weekend, but the next, is an overland trip that I'm going to be leading further down in Southern California, about a little bit east of San Diego. And we're going to be going through Anza Borrego and Ocotillo Wells and Truck Haven, really, really beautiful area. Checking out a bunch of the desert stuff, which will be blooming this time of year. It'll be really nice. I've got 2 openings left in that, so if you're interested, I need you to either sign up on our event page or just direct message me or email me, however you can get a hold of us. And let me know, because that's coming up quick. I just sent everybody out the information on that. This will be a great one for the entire family or by yourself. It doesn't matter. We will be camping along the way. It's a 4-day trip. So if that's something you're interested in, let us know. And then beyond that, we've got our Sand Hollow trip during, that Easter time frame.
Yep.
And we've had people sign up like mad for that. And that's going to be a good one too. So,
yeah, it was last year, and I think more people will come this year.
Yeah,
and then it's super nice because it's free. It's not like
right.
We're going to be there wheeling.
Yeah,
come wheel with us.
Yeah, Now in that case, you will need to pay the park fees, or if there's stuff like that. I did forget that after the overland trip I'll be out at TDS, and we're going to be ripping around, having a good time. I'll have Terremoto there. And, it's basically a fun time and we'll be doing a little faster pace, more difficult, really having fun.
And that's at Truckhaven?
That's out of Truckhaven. Yeah, the first weekend in March. And then after that, we're going to Calico. If you've never been out there, that's a fun one too. And then I'm doing one day at Overland Expo just to cruise around and check things out. And then it's Sand Hollow. So we've got plenty of stuff going on for sure.
We do.
Yeah.
We're gonna be on the trails
Street
a lot
has a
this year.
question.
Sure. What do you got?
He says, I finally got the 37s on my 19 Rubicon. I just bought ball joint deletes. Was that a good call or not? We'll be putting those and my GenRight parts on in 2 weeks when I get home again. What 2 to 2.5 inch lift do you recommend for the time being?
Have you guys? I can answer the ball joint question.
Well, we can both answer the ball. Yes, we think.
Okay,
that's a
so
good
we
idea.
think that's a great idea, especially if your ball joints were worn out. If you were just doing it as preventative maintenance, more power to you. You made the right upgrade at the right time before you needed it, before you got death wobble and just wasted your tires.
Yeah.
Both of us, actually, there's several of us here, like almost everybody here runs the ball joint deletes, and we're big fans of that. The next part of the question was the lift. Are we recommending any small lift right now?
Yeah, 2 inches kind of in between the puck lift and like a 3-inch like rock crawler type.
I mean,
lift.
I would blow the fenders off, put our fenders on, and then do like a puck lift.
Yeah, that's what I would do until you're ready for
Yep.
full suspension system.
And then DJ Sumursky says, 2012 JKU Elite suspension, Curry 70, 42s, GR high steer, 2.5 inch Kings. Put 70 miles on it this weekend. First time on the road in a year. And 90-degree turns at 10 to 15 mile per hour. Loads the rear corner. Shock. It leans. At high speed, it's fantastic. Do I need a sway bar? GR sways out of stock on 10 plus weeks potentially. Or should I play with PSI or Kings and spring rates?
Sway bars right now?
I think we're just starting to get them in.
Coming back in. Okay.
Army.
All right. So one of the things that everybody watching needs to understand is that we build a lot of caster into our suspension. And the reason we do that is it does make the body roll. You get a weight transfer when that happens. And that's what actually makes it go around the corner quickly, because it lightens that inside tire. Now, that can be adjusted. The first thing I would do is I'd move the secondary nuts down and get those to engage faster. That kicks in the lower spring rate, and you'll easily cut whatever body roll you felt in half. Okay, so both on Aftershock and Terremoto, that's what I've done, and it's amazing. Just the difference that I run no sway bar. Now, I don't know what your setup is, if you carry a big spare and stuff on the roof rack, and everybody's setup's a little different. If that is you, then yes, you need a sway bar, and you're going to want to run ours. The Rock Jock JK rear sway bar is a lighter spring rate. You're going to want something that we make that's 30% heavier, and that'll really give you the control or the lack of lean that you're looking for.
Okay, we're all caught up, and it's 6 o'clock.
And it's 6 o'clock. Wow, we did a good job. I think that was all we had, right? I think we got some new apparel in.
Yep.
So you can look for that on our website. And of course, if you like us, please subscribe, follow, and that way you're getting your notifications. All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. We'll be back next Wednesday. Talk to you soon.